All right, welcome to the Two Sons Podcast. Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope all of you guys had a great week. Don't forget, we would really appreciate it if you guys would scroll down and hit that subscribe button. Time to get to some Star Wars stuff.
Yeah,
so
dude.
Dave Filoni promoted to New George.
Yes, New George.
Georgian waiting. Georgian. It's no longer Georgian waiting. Is now the Georgian now.
He's George.
Yes, he's George. He's and I am absolutely, completely, and utterly thrilled. This has been a long time coming, man.
This needed to happen years ago.
So bad.
Legitimately years ago. Like, the reins were given to people who did not know Star Wars theory.
Dude, okay, here's another random thing that I thought about the other day about just how bad Disney messed this up. So I'm reading the new Jedi Order series, the Yu Zhan Vong series. I'm like, Vector Prime's the first book, and I'm about like 40% of the way through it. And it's so good because they jump around from the perspective of the Yu Zhan Vong and the perspective of the galaxy. And so like I'm in this phase where like they're in the initial phases of their invasion and the galaxy isn't aware of their presence, and like they're doing all these like things behind the scenes, subterfuge to kind of like infiltrate society. Yeah. It's so incredibly fascinating. I'm so deeply interested, which we're going to come back to in a minute because I have takes about the High Republic and kind of centered around this. But as I've been reading through it, one of the things that I've realized is like, you know what's kind of cool is the Skywalker bloodline. And, you know, because we have Jason Solo, who has Skywalker blood, obviously through Leia.
This is Legends, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's Jaina Solo, who's his twin sister. And then there's Anakin Solo, his younger brother. And if I'm not mistaken, we haven't got there yet, but I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, that Luke and Mara Jade Skywalker end up having a baby at some point during the show as well. But like, you know what's cool is like there's like a storyline that continues with the Skywalkers, and like there's actually another series of books that I literally know nothing about that takes place after the New Jedi Order, and it's all of those young Skywalker children doing stuff. And you know what they did? They killed off the Solo bloodline and the Skywalker bloodline entirely.
In the
Kathleen
books?
Kennedy did. No, Kathleen Kennedy did.
Oh.
Think about it. They're all dead.
No, Rey, dude.
Leia's dead. Yeah, Rey. Not adopted Skywalker.
You're missing out Rey.
She doesn't count.
You know, Rey, the most important person in all of Star Wars?
Dude, the Palpatine bloodline. Like, if you were to take odds on which bloodline would outsurvive the other at the end of Return of the Jedi, all the odds were in favor of the Skywalkers and the Solos. Yeah. And thanks to Kathleen Kennedy, we had to come back of the century as now Rey Palpatine is marauding across the galaxy, and the Solos and the Skywalkers are all dead.
Dude, not to go off another tangent, but like, this is going to... I hope I don't ruffle too many feathers, and I hope people get my actual sentiment here. But like, I was looking at this book, which is the one that you had out, the Star Wars timeline, right?
Yes.
A really, really cool book. And I'm literally just like thumbing through, and there's all of these incredible characters here that are desperately important for the entire Star Wars universe. We're talking thousands of years.
Yes.
And it shows these incredible faces, and it's like High Republic, and then it shows like Darth Vader, and then it shows like all these important people. Yoda, think incredibly important, and then it ends with Rey, and I'm just like,
and it just gets cringy, and you're like,
and I'm just like, how like Rey's like, don't get me wrong, like I love Rey as
all the actresses and actors did an amazing job. It's
incredible.
not their fault.
It's
Kylo Ren. Oh my gosh,
incredible act. Yeah. So, but it just was such a letdown to even notice that this morning. As you're like doing stuff around your house, I'm just like, oh, it's kind of a letdown. And I love Rey, and I hope people understand like my sentiment here. Like, it's not that I dislike Rey. Like, it's just like the way that Star Wars has essentially ended, where like Palpatine's back, but then Rey's a Skywalker. It's like, how is that the cherry on top with all the sacrifice that all of these people have made? Dude, think Starlight Beacon and the sacrifice that was there. Yeah. Like, think Anakin Skywalker and his sacrifice. Like, think all the sacrifice. Like, and then it ends with like, Rey, I'm a Skywalker.
Yeah, dude. No, it's completely ridiculous. It's like, dude, it's like someone used Star Wars up before they gave it to Dave. Like literally, no. So Carly, when we
totally
bought
true.
Rip, we bought him from this
Adopted.
This
Say
couple,
adopted.
Yeah, adopted. When we adopted Rip and Rip's our Great Pyrenees, who's been an incredible dog, except for his propensity to try to mark items inside of my house, which has been a complete and total and utter disaster. Which is literally why we had to remodel our house. It's a long story. Yeah,
I should not be laughing.
It was such an incredible disaster. So, but anyway, we bought it. So my wife works in the sewing machine and vacuum business, and so we got her as like compensation, for since you didn't like the word bought, as compensation for us adopting Rip, we got her a vacuum. And it's completely untouched out there in the garage.
Oh, nice.
And whenever we meet up with her, we're going to give it to her. She just lives on the opposite end of town. We just haven't
Oh, you got the person.
Yeah,
I see.
And we haven't been able to deliver it.
Dude,
so the other day, what?
I thought you're like, oh, this is going to sound terrible. Also, I thought you're like, oh, honey, like, thanks for letting me adopt Rip. We'll get you a gift, which is a vacuum. Sorry.
No.
Again, it doesn't sound great. That's why I was like trying to figure this out. I was like, oh, this makes sense. Like, as a thank you present for the person that you adopted Rip from, you're giving them a vacuum as well.
So in the caddy business, they refer to it as trade. So it's a small business thing where they're like, oh, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours with whatever we have. Like she had a dog.
Here's an incredible vacuum. Which these vacuums, by the way, are more valuable than
I had no idea these nice vacuums existed. Yeah, yes. Exactly. And so, but that's the thing is like we could get her a super nice vacuum for a reasonable price because we could get it at cost.
Yes.
And that kind of thing. So anyway, the super nice vacuum's out in the garage, and the other day, like I'm cleaning the couch, and Carly's like, just grab the Triflex out there. And she's asked me like 3 times to do this, and I'm like, no. I'm like, it's not our vacuum. It belongs to Steph. And she's like, it'll be fine. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna hand her like, here's your used vacuum.
Rip is in here.
If you miss Rip, he's literally inside the vacuum.
His hair.
No, that's what I mean. And that's literally what they did to Dave Filoni. They're like, okay, it's your turn now. Like.
Dude, I know.
We vacuumed up a little bit of cat poop.
Yeah, I know.
In an old enchilada. Here you go.
Kathleen Kennedy cat poop. No, dude, it's true. And some enchilada. Dude, it's true though. Like it's incredible that they made it so far without doing this already. Where they moved Dave into his role of chief. What did we decide it was? Chief.
He's chief visionary.
Yeah. He's doctor of visionary.
He's the grandmaster.
What is the actual thing? We already forgot it. It's chief.
You said you put it down, right?
CCO, right? Chief
content
creative
officer. Okay.
Yeah, dude. So like I agree, man. This could not have happened. Well, it could have happened sooner, but like I'm so glad it finally happened. And Dave has such a good understanding of Star Wars. And what I like about Dave that you can tell in his interviews is he always talks about his time with George Lucas.
Yes,
like
he's reverent of it.
Yes, he always brings it up. And not only that, but when he's going through something, him and George talk about stuff. And that's what I like about Dave so much is like he to the best of his ability, I get the idea that he tries really hard to continue the lineage of Star Wars as George would have done it.
Yes.
Not how Disney in 2023 would have done it. You know what I mean? And that's what I like about it.
Well, and specifically, he has a deep regard for what makes Star Wars great. Mm-hmm. I think that specifically is going to be what drives the success of the franchise moving forward. Like, he understands what the core tenet of Star Wars is, which is the Force and the battle between light and darkness. And like you see this in everything he's brought to Ahsoka. Like a lot of the Kathleen Kennedy built stuff has been like all based on scale and grandeur and trying to be funny and like all this kind of stuff. And in reality, what people are interested in is the story. And like what drives it home is like stuff like Ahsoka, where it's like it's much smaller scale, but it's way more focused on this like deep lore and oh, there's this Easter egg about this particular ancient Force user or whatever it is, and like that kind of thing I think is like where Star Wars is at its best. And I just know Dave's going to bring a lot of that home, and I just think in general moving forward, I feel much more confident in the big picture of where Star Wars is going.
Yeah.
Like when I just think like I think we're heading into now what's going to be a golden age of Star Wars. I think it's going to be just a nonstop stream of really, really interesting content. Wait, because they will eventually go back too. I mean, we already have this Acolyte show in the High Republic. Yeah. They will eventually go back, then possibly even further, and like. Wait till Dave Filoni gets his hands on some like Old Republic stuff, and
yes.
I'm talking like Revan and Malik and like I think Star Wars has a really bright future now. This has been a long time coming, and I think here's the thing. One of the things I always talk about on my Hoops Tonight show is like people fuck up. It's part of life, Like we all do in various different ways, and like all you can do is like figure out where you fucked up,
right?
Own it and move on.
True.
And like that's the thing is like I think Kathleen Kennedy finally like took a seat back, took a step back and is like clearly this is what the fans want.
Yeah.
All of his shit is doing really well in terms of performance in the shows. He's incredibly like Dave Filoni actually views his life's purpose as carrying the George Lucas baton.
Legitimately.
Which is literally has to be your attitude to be in that position. You need a psychopath. It's like I'll even just like equate it back to something really simple and low level like my job. Like you can't do my job unless you think basketball's the most important thing in the world. and like literally every morning I wake up and it's like all I want to do. It's like the most important thing in the world to me. And like that's the thing is like too many people were involved in Star Wars projects that wasn't the case early on. And I think we're all worse off for it. But I think better late than never.
No, I totally agree. Like at one point, and the Legends material is really interesting. But one of the reasons why it's so interesting is because that's all it is. It's just Legends material. It's stories that have been, the idea of it is like stories that have been passed from generation to generation. It's grandfathers telling their grandkids the crazy accounts of Luke Skywalker, and they get blown up, and there's like all this grandeur and stuff, right? Like that's how I envisioned Legends. Like that works when you have a bunch of different authors creating that content, because it doesn't matter if it's linear. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. It's all fun.
Yes.
It's all fun. Like canon should not be like that.
No.
And at one point, George was at the helm and he was creating canon content, and all of it pretty much made sense for the most part, right? And then all of a sudden, all of these hands are just in the pot of what is creating Star Wars content, and then it stopped making sense. We started getting things that were occurring where Star Wars fans were like, ooh, like that's not how that works. Like, please don't do that with Star Wars. And it's nice that Dave is finally, or someone that knows what's going on is finally at the helm again, where things do have to run by him. And he could be like, yeah, it doesn't make sense to light speed skip. Like, please don't do that. Like
they literally brought Palpatine back without having any idea that they were going to do so until the third movie.
Dude.
There is literally a scene at the beginning of Rise of Skywalker where Kylo Ren's walking into the Sith temple thing where Palpatine is, and you literally hear Palpatine in the background saying like, "I have been every voice that you have ever heard," and like during the phrase it cuts to the 3 or 4 different voices that you heard, and you're just like,
no,
are you serious,
stop.
dude? Like, like it was literally like that's the kind of thing that you see in like a soap opera during the day when they're like trying to just throw a wrench into everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like that to me was so poorly. It was like legitimately a catastrophe.
It was
for lack of a better word.
It was
like it was so bad. It was so bad. I am excited for Dave